When I was in freshman year, I got into some serious trouble. Let me explain. I had an awesome group of friends that I loved hanging out with. We had so much fun together, but for some reason, we got into the habit of daring each other to do mischievous things. We started as harmless pranks that turned us into daring each other to steal ice cream from the cafeteria. And this eventually led us to doing some more destructive and illegal things. One particular Saturday night, it was my turn to be dared. My buddies challenged me to break into a car and steal something. Since I couldn't turn down a good dare, I pulled on the car doors until I found one that was unlocked. Then all chaos broke out. I was busted by the guy whose car I was inside. Needless to say, he wasn't happy about this 14-year-old rummaging through his stuff. My friends ran away and left me there alone. A few minutes later, the cops showed up. In the end, my friends got into a little bit of trouble, but I got into a lot of trouble. Now, don't get me wrong. I take responsibility for what I did. It was me who made the bad choice. I was the only person who did what I did. But I never would have been in a random parking lot on a Saturday night if it weren't for my friends. And I certainly wouldn't have broken into that vehicle if they hadn't dared me. I was arrested, dropped from the wrestling team, and for a while, I was a source of school gossip. And in the midst of it all, I learned a valuable lesson. The people you hang around can have a big impact on your life. Think about this. What's the last bad decision you made? Or maybe I'll ask it this way. When's the last time you made a decision that got you in trouble? Whatever it was that you thought of right now, did you think, how could this happen to me? But here's the deal. The common denominator in all of those choices was you. You aren't just an innocent bystander. We are participants. But what's also true is that many of those decisions weren't made by us alone. A lot of times the reason we did what we did was because there were other influences involved. In other words, friends have a direct impact on us. Ultimately, your friends will have a big influence on the quality of life now and where your life ends up later. When it comes to most of our major decisions, we put a lot of thought into them. But when it comes to who we allow into our inner circle, we don't always think too much about it. Instead of being proactive, we tend to be reactive. Here's the bad news. Friends can pull us down. Here's the good news. They can also pull us up. See, friends are a big deal. So let's talk about how to be a friend and how to maintain that right type of friendship and friendships that are better for you in the long run. There's a book in the Old Testament of the Bible, and it's called Proverbs, and it speaks to the importance of deciding which friends you'll let influence your decisions. A guy named Solomon is credited to writing most of it. He was a king of Israel, but was also deemed the wisest person ever. Here's what he said. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Let's define the word righteous. It simply means people who do the right thing. It's about being a good decision maker, a wise person, and making right decisions, who do what's best for our future. Solomon says that we need to choose our friends carefully. Right decision makers pay attention to who their friends are because they know that they need friends who are just as invested in their future as they are. I want you to ask yourself this. Are my friends leading me to a future that I'm proud of? Or to a future that I don't want any part of? I understand that in high school you can't always choose the kind of people that are around you. You may even say that you don't even have any friends. And while that may be true right now, it may be awful right now, it won't always be that way. And the decisions that you make right now when it comes to friends can save you from a lot of potential pain in the future. So when you're making decisions about who your real friends will be, it's important to be intentional. And that's why Solomon told us to choose them carefully in the verse that we looked at. He also ended the verse by saying this, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. This is basically just people who are the opposite of right decision makers. When we hear the word wicked, we may think of all different kinds of things. But what Solomon meant was someone who's done something wrong. They think about themselves and they don't think about right now. They don't have your future or your best interest in mind. When Solomon says that it leads them astray, he's basically referring that it leads them to trouble. That's why you may have a friend who's a good person and a ton of fun to be around, but you find yourself getting into trouble when you're with them. This is why I don't think we should ask the question, is this friend good or bad? Instead, I think we should ask, is this friend a good influence on my life right now? If the answer is no, it doesn't mean that it'll be like that forever. There is hope for everyone to get on the right track. Remember, the friends you choose impact the future you will have. The truth is the same for all of us. If we want great friendships, either today or one day in the future, we need to be friends with people who care about our future and influence us in a positive way. Great friendships start with great people. While you're waiting, it's a great time for you to learn how to become a great friend. As you focus on your character, you'll grow into a person who will be a great influence on the people that are in your inner circle. There's a few things that I'd love for you to do in light of what we just talked about. First, pray for great friends. In another verse from Proverbs, Solomon says this, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." That's in Proverbs 27:17. And it just means that the right kind of friends make us better. They sharpen us, but the right kind of friend who doesn't mean a friend who is exactly like us. In fact, it's good to be friends with people who think differently and look at life differently than you. People who see the world differently from us, who have different experiences in this world. They have something that they can teach us because we don't have everything in common. What matters is that you share the right things that you have in common. And then you need to ask yourself important questions about your friends. In fact, you can ask these questions about yourself while you're at it. The reason we do this is so that we can become more intentional about who we let influence us. Ask questions like, can you count on them to be right decision makers? Do they make not just right, but wise decisions? Are they always caught up in drama? Depending on how you answer these questions, there may be friends that you need to take a couple steps back from. If you're feeling this, we're gonna talk about how to do this next time. But whatever it is that you need to be the one who decides what happens next. Don't be passive, be intentional. Depending on how you answer these questions, there may be friends that you need to take a couple steps back from. And that's okay. Like I told you earlier, it will not always be like that. So take a breath, take a few steps back, and reassess that friendship. Doesn't mean you never talk to them anymore, but I need you to remember, the friends that you choose will impact the future that you will have. I believe that God wants us to have life-giving, sharpening friendships. Friendships where we can see God at work in the relationship. So invite God into your journey of building great friendships. Ask God to help you be a great friend to others. These kind of friendships take work, but believe me, the work is worth it.